Welcome to Tardisian Files. Hello listeners! A little late to the party, but we're finally getting round to our review of The Robot Revolution. And suffice to say, I have quite a bit to say about the Season 2 premiere. For those of you who've not watched it yet, 1. What are you doing? And 2. Be warned because there will be spoilers ahead. Without further ado, let's jump right in. Starting off with the recap of the episode, 17 years ago, Belinda Chandra's boyfriend Alan gifted her a star certificate for her birthday, naming a distant star Ms. Belinda Chandra. Fast forward to May 23rd, 2025, Belinda is now a nurse and completely unaware that her past gift is about to change her life. That night, she's abducted by giant robots who declare her the queen of the planet Ms. Belinda Chandra 1, thanks to that very same star certificate from 17 years prior. They whisk her away in a rocket, despite her protests, and despite the Doctor hot on their trail in the TARDIS. On the planet, Belinda finds herself caught between a robotic regime and a humanoid rebellion. The inhabitants all appear to expect her to marry the AI generator, the robotic leader of the planet, as a forced peace gesture. The Doctor, disguised as a royal historian, uses a cleverly coded speech to spark a rebel uprising. It's revealed that he's been on the planet for 6 months, secretly helping the resistance. As chaos erupts, Belinda escapes the Doctor and a few rebels, but not before losing the Doctor's newfound ally, Sasha 55. At the rebel hideout, Belinda soon discovers a devastating truth. The robot's entire society was built around her star certificate, which was retrieved by an earlier robot mission, only to be returned thousands of years earlier, becoming the founding source of Miss Belinda Chandran society. Racked with guilt, she surrenders herself to the robots to protect the rebels. They're taken to the AI generator, and inside his chamber, they see a shocking twist. The AI generator is Alan, her ex-boyfriend, now fused into the system after being taken by the robots and deposited on the planet 10 years prior. Turns out, Belinda ended their relationship years ago because he was controlling and manipulative, and now he wants to force their union again. In a final act of defiance, Belinda uses what the Doctor told her earlier about 2 versions of the same object coming into contact with one another, and creates a time paradox, using the copies of the star certificate in hers and Alan's possession. The Doctor absorbs the blast for Belinda, but Alan is regressed to a point before his conception and disappears. With peace restored, Belinda asks to be returned home. But as the TARDIS tries to take her back to May 24th, something is blocking them. Unbeknownst to them, they are floating through space among Earth relics, hints of something catastrophic having happened on the very day Belinda left. With no other choice, they set off to return the long way round. Okay, so, starting with the pros, and I am just going to say it, this season premiere was way better than Space Babies. It may not have had cute babies running a space station, but what it did have was impact. The plot, while still being written to include the younger and new-coming audiences, still had us on the edge of our seats, with time-bending after time-bending twist. The episode wasted no character, and no opportunity to use established Doctor Who lore such as the Blinovitch limitation effect, though not directly naming it on screen, and even the Polish bot played a significant role in helping Belinda defeat the AL generator. Speaking of Belinda, this episode really delivers on what Vardha Sethu stated in an interview published on doctorwhotv.co.uk literally days before the premiere. She really isn't afraid to stand up to the Doctor. From pointing out that there were patients that needed tending to in the rebel base, and getting straight to work, to calling the Doctor out and scanning her DNA without asking, to willingly offering herself up to the AL generator to save the rebels, despite the Doctor's protests, I think we can all say that this nurse did not come here to mess around. And I love it. I also like that I was once again right about my simple solutions theory when it came to the link between Belinda and Mundy Flynn. Belinda is Mundy's ancestor. There is a little bit more to it, as the Doctor noticed something extra peculiar about their genetic link, leading him to believe that there's some force driving both him and Belinda together. But before we get into that, I'm just going to relish in the satisfaction that, just like Ruby's mum being untraceable had a normal explanation, so does the link between Belinda and Mundy. They're ancestors. Just saying, I was right. Next, the AL generator. RTD did a wonderful job to write a character that was half computer nerd goes power hungry and half coercive controlling narcissistic ex-boyfriend, all hidden by a super scary looking gaming hub. The amazing optics made this beast keep us scared for most of the episode, and thanks to some mighty fine acting from Johnny Green, had us all hating on the AL generator right until he was reverted to a point before his conception, literally having his ego crushed to microscopic proportions. Side note, this isn't Johnny Green's first venture in the Whoniverse, as he has voiced several characters in the Big Finish audio range, such as Carl Jarnish in the War Doctor stories and Tyler Steele in the Torchwood the Story Continues range, and having also appeared in It's a Sin episode 4, another series written by RTD. In my opinion, it is about time that Johnny made an appearance on screen in Doctor Who, and I'm so very glad he did, because he played this villain wonderfully. Moving on to the setting. Despite being a bit of a mouthful, I really do love the world building in this episode for Ms. Belinda Chandra 1 and the Miss Belinda Chandrans. Not only did the planet have an established history, which was ultimately shaped by the presence of the time fracture separating the boundary between it and Earth, causing multiple points in its timeline to intersect, but also the Miss Belinda Chandrans themselves were explored in terms of their history, some of their culture, and their physiology. Which I think, for a show that has many human-looking aliens, it's nice to be reminded that just because they look human, it isn't just because it's cheaper to have humanoid aliens, but also because, in this case, this species just evolved to look human with some differences. And I personally quite liked that. Also, Mrs. Flood. I did wonder for a moment, but it appears that she has moved house, which is a good thing because we would have had to have explained why the Doctor was back on Ruby Street and didn't pop in to visit her, or something along those lines, or why Ruby wouldn't have been caught up in whatever was going on, but no. Different street, Mrs. Flood has moved, and this, I think, does prove that she is indirectly following the Doctor, and that also explains why she had a travelling case at the end of Season 1. And it appears that she is staying in the habit of engaging directly with the audience through the fourth wall, which is beginning to make me wonder if she really is a villain or just a spectator coming along for the plot. In either case, she's clearly still relevant to the plot, and whatever plans that she might have had before Sutekh dusted her are clearly back in motion. And finally, the two elephants in the room. The seemingly abnormal genetic link between Belinda and Mundy, but also the apparent destruction of Earth the day Belinda left. A little bit of theorising can be done for both plot points here. So, in the case of Earth being destroyed the day Belinda left, we can assume that it happens hours after she left, as there's no apparent threat in the hours leading up to her departure, and it's probably not an alternate timeline from before she left, because even though we have seen companions being taken to an alternate timeline of their time, where theoretically they shouldn't exist, but they still do because they were in the TARDIS when the timeline changed, Belinda wasn't in the TARDIS, she was on the rocket and gone for several months, indicating that in the current timeline, she's likely the only survivor. Therefore, either we see the timeline where Earth gets destroyed coming into fruition, probably in the episode where Ruby and Unit reappear, because we know that that takes place on Earth in the present day, or this timeline is something that the Doctor will fight and negate before the episode with Ruby and Unit. So it's either he'll fix the timeline and then encounter Unit and Ruby again, or he will have to work to stop that timeline coming into fruition in an episode with Ruby and Unit, because I don't see those two things being unconnected. I do think that there is a link between when the Doctor eventually sees Ruby and Unit again and this seemingly destroyed Earth timeline. I do think they're part of the same episode. And in the case of the genetic link between Belinda and Mundy, and this is purely speculation here, but we have seen companions being caught in some kind of continuity loop where their own future intersects with the past in order to create the very outcome that we see in the end. Just like Rose creating the Bad Wolf paradox to ensure that she could save the Doctor from the Daleks, and the Dr. Donna meta-crisis rippling back through time to ensure Donna created the meta-crisis Doctor and absorbed the Doctor's knowledge for herself. So there is a possibility that Belinda, or someone with a vested interest in her, has manipulated her timeline in such a way to ensure Mundy's existence, and that she's carrying the genetic markers that draws the Doctor to Belinda. Some kind of paranormal inheritance of some kind, maybe? Well, one can only wonder. But it is fun to think about, and I'm looking forward to finding out what the reasons behind these two plot points are. Like any balanced review, with a list of pros comes a list of cons. Very few for this episode, but still worth discussing. The first, which garnered the most amount of attention online, was the robots killing the cat. For no reason. Tiny thing, I know, but come on, Russell. Make the robots shoot an antique mixing bowl or something, not the neighbour's cat, for goodness sake. And secondly, the time fracture. Not that I didn't love the idea of a planet whose history keeps intersecting with its future, but even when it came to writing this review of the plot, I will admit I found it a little too confusing how many times the robots left their planet and ended up coming back either several months, several years, or several eons into the past or future. And also, what about the robots that abducted Alan after Belinda told them about him, and then they took him back to a point before the robots had enslaved the planet? Did they just reset and sync to the old versions of their operating system where they were subservient to the Miss Belinda Chandrons, not the other way around? It's just kind of confusing, and it definitely raises a few more paradoxes than just the star certificate. So suffice to say, I personally think that Russell went a little overboard with the time fracture as a plot device. Nevertheless, it still made the episode interesting, so I'm not going to hate on it too much. And that's it. I said it was only a few. Overall, I loved this episode. I think it was the proper way to start a new season of Doctor Who, with an intriguing, if not a little confusing plot, with great characters brought to life by an amazing cast. And I, for one, am dying to see what this season has in store. What did you guys think of the episode? Did you agree with our review? Did you notice something we missed? Let us know in the comments section on our YouTube channel and our social media pages. You can listen to all episodes of the podcast on YouTube, YouTube Music, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Tardisian Files Podcasts to get the latest updates on upcoming episodes. And as always, see you next time on Tardisian Files.